Sup, you beautiful bastards. Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show. Buckle up, hit that like button. Let's hope my voice lasts the entire episode. And, let's just jump into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is Peloton. And Peloton, if you don't know, is a company that sells smart indoor exercise bikes, treadmills. They have a subscription service, right, with trainers, whether they be live or video on demand, walking you through an exercise. But main point, the reason that we're talking about them is that they released an advertisement that has gone viral for not the best reasons. And here, let's walk through it together. Right, you have generic ad mom coming down. It seems like Christmas morning, and she's just absolutely blown away. Look at that face. She's like, Greg, I thought you didn't love me anymore, but you bought me this beautiful bike. She then proceeds to vlog herself going on her first ride, where she genuinely looks terrified. It continues, she's surprised she's kept it up. At first she hates waking up at 6 a.m., but then she's like, it's worth it. Then she's absolutely blown away that one of the trainers said her name. Then continues to vlog saying, a year ago I couldn't believe how much this would change me, thank you. And she's watching and then presenting this vlog to the man that gave her this gift the next Christmas. And scene. And since this ad was released almost 2 weeks ago, it was gaining more and more attention, definitely blowing up in the past 36 hours. And the reaction has almost been universally negative. Whether you're looking on their official YouTube channel and you're looking at the likes to dislikes, or on Twitter where it seemingly united people in dunking on the company, albeit for a number of different reasons. One criticism of the ad is that it pushes sexist ideologies. This because it portrays a husband giving his wife a gift aimed to improve herself, as well as the woman just seeming to lack confidence in any way in most of the scenes. Others are ridiculing it because the woman's physique doesn't seem to change at all. Right? She's already a slender woman at the beginning of the ad. It appears that she's the same size at the end. Additionally, the video is receiving backlash for portraying seemingly well-off people in an expensive-looking home, right, which is a common thread throughout Peloton ads, to the point that it's even been memed. Which, on that note, there is a fantastic Twitter thread that I will link to down below. But also, on the note of who they're marketing to, it is probably people with more money. Right, Peloton bikes start at $2,245, and that's not even considering the subscription. And as far as my reaction to this story, I don't think this is actually bad for Peloton, even though everyone's dunking on them. One, with this being so openly mocked and memed, it's gotten in front of a lot of people that it would otherwise not have. Two, when it comes to selling something, you don't need everyone to love it, you just need a certain group of people to buy it. And three, as Yahoo Finance noted, even with the release of this almost 2 weeks ago, since the Thanksgiving holiday, Peloton stock traded up 14.6%. Over the past month, it's up 37%. That said, it'll be interesting to see where it ends a week or two from now. Yesterday, while this was blowing up, it went up about 5%. It dropped overnight. Personally, if I were to guess, I think it's gonna drop even further before bouncing back. But hey, really, if there's one note that I can hit on, it is only okay to buy someone fitness equipment, I don't care if it's a Peloton, a TRX band, or whatever, is if they have specifically mentioned they really want that thing. Otherwise, it is the rudest thing you could possibly do. The only thing that is worse is something that I almost did, which was, I think it was 5 or 6 years into dating my now wife. I was initially not going to be able to spend Christmas with her and her family. I decided, hey, you know what? I'm gonna fly there, I'm gonna surprise her. I need to get her a gift. I went to the jewelry store. I decided I was gonna get her a ring. Not an engagement ring, just a ring, and I am so thankful that this jeweler was willing to tell me how much of an idiot I was. He was like, you're going to fly cross country, surprise this woman on Christmas while she's surrounded by all her family, and then you're going to present her a ring box, and you think that that's gonna go over well. Who dropped you on your head? But yeah, ultimately that's the story, and I'm gonna keep my eyes on this because I'm really interested to see, what happens with the public reaction, and then as far as company success. Because I think this story is an interesting insertion point into the debate on, is there such a thing for a company as bad press? Right, in the past we've seen examples of company does offensive thing. This is not so much as offensive, as much as it's probably detached from the regular life experience of Joe and Jane Blow. But we'll see, and also with this story, I'd love to know your thoughts in general. Do you think that this whole mess is gonna have a good, a bad, a neutral reaction, or really just anything? And then let's talk about Veronika Didusenko, who, if you don't know, was crowned Miss Ukraine back in September of 2018. But she won a ton of money and opportunity to represent her country in the Miss World competition at the end of 2019. But then just 4 days later, she was stripped of her title. They took her monetary award because it turns out she has a 5-year-old son. And it turns out that it's actually against the rules of the Miss World competition to take part if you have a child. Right, so essentially they have a no MILF policy. Also, if you've been married or previously married, Don't even try. You've been touched. You are unclean. Now, as far as why we're talking about it today, right? It's more than a year after being disqualified. It's because Veronica is now taking legal action against the competition organizers in an effort to get them to change the regulations.
There is no place for them in 21st century when women can successfully balance their careers and parenting.
Now, as far as if Veronica was aware of this rule, she said that she saw the ban one time while she was filling out her application, admitting that she falsely checked the box indicating that she had no children in order to submit it, but also saying that she thought that the rules just didn't make any sense. The main point, she wins, then she's disqualified. She said worldwide she just received so much support. And ultimately what we're looking at now is her lawyer said that they've written to the Miss World organizers who are based in the United Kingdom, threatening legal action on the basis that the pageant rules are discriminatory, specifically arguing that the regulations are contrary to the Equality Act 2010, an act of UK Parliament that serves as the foundation for Great Britain's anti-discrimination law. Veronica's lawyer also telling BBC that they received a holding letter from the Miss World legal team on Friday, so they now plan to intend to file a complaint with the Equality and Human Rights Commission. With Veronica saying essentially the main goal here is I want Miss World to change those rules to make beauty pageants inclusive for everyone, because inclusive competitions can help to break gender stereotypes, create professional opportunities for contestants, and can help to empower women. And I guess, as far as my opinion here, it's hard to see this as anything other than weird old discrimination. Right, the competition is called Miss World, not Miss Unmarried Childless Woman. Right, if that was the name of the competition, I'd be like, that's very specific. But also two, I'd be like, it's in the name and there's probably a attractive married mom thing competition. But with it being Miss World, right, it's just a competition around women. It feels very odd and wrong to disqualify women who have had a different life experience, as if marriage or giving birth to a child has somehow ruined them. But just saying it out loud sounds weird. You're gonna disqualify a woman for doing something only a woman can do. I don't know. I don't generally care about competitions like this, but all of this just feels wrong. But also, maybe that's just me. I'd love to know your thoughts on this one. But from that, I wanna share some stuff I love today in Awesome, brought to you by Drop and their exclusive Sennheiser HD 58X Jubilee headphones. And if you're a longtime fan of the show, you know that I've actually promoted these on the channel before, but with their now extended Cyber Monday deal, you can snag them at their lowest price ever. And I really think you'll love these. For me, the best part I think is that they're just really comfortable. The padded headband is fantastic, and it even has easily replaceable ear pads covered in ultra soft velvet padding, making them fantastic for long use. But you also don't have to just take my word for it. With a 5-star rating on Drop, over 1,400 reviews, and nearly 35,000 sold, these headphones are definitely worth the money, and are currently being used by thousands of audiophiles, gamers, and everyday people just like you and me. People who just love a good pair of headphones, and it's simple. With these, you get excellent sound quality at an affordable price. And so, if you're looking to replace or upgrade your gear, or maybe even snag a present for someone else, just head on over to dropdefranco.com and snag a pair at the low price of $135 before their extended Cyber Monday sale ends. And the first bit of awesome today is I just wanted to pimp out Yogscast Jingle Jam. They're streaming for a month on twitch.tv/Yogscast. And with the stream and Humble Bundle, they're raising money for a number of charities. It only just started December 1st, and as of recording this video, they've raised over $1.3 million. And so shaky voice be damned, I wanted to make sure that I gave them a shout out. So yeah, after today's show, check it out, watch some good, buy some good, do some good. Then we got a brand new trailer for Black Widow. Then we had How to Drink giving us Buddy the Elf's coffee. The infographic show giving us how to actually survive a crocodile attack. We had Binging with Babish giving us some awesome from The Office. We got Cartman's Guide to Love. First We Feast gave us another episode of Gochi Gang. Nikki Glazer gave us a lie detector test with friends. And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, really anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. Then in quickie 2020 election news, we got the news today that Kamala Harris is officially dropping out, with Harris writing an email to supporters saying, "I've taken stock and looked at this from every angle, and over the last few days have come to one of the hardest decisions of my life. My campaign for president simply doesn't have the financial resources we need to continue. I'm not a billionaire, I can't fund my own campaign, and as the campaign has gone on, it's become harder and harder to raise the money we need to compete." So what I'll say here is this is where things I think start to get more interesting as you have people dropping out. Granted, while Kamala Harris had kind of a bump after the first debate, she was really in the single digits now, right? And so as people leave the race, there's the question of, well, one, who would they back? And two, are the supporters for a certain candidate going to go to one of the other candidates, or were they the kind of hardcore this person or nothing kind of people? So as we see more and more people dropping out, it'll be interesting to see if we all of a sudden have a different front runner. And then let's talk about President Trump. French President President Macron, and the NATO summit. And for those that don't know, NATO, or the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, is a military alliance between 29 North American and European countries. It was established back in 1949, and right now members are in London for a summit and to celebrate the 70th anniversary. Right, and so along with all the other leaders, Trump is currently there at the summit, and he's been making a lot of headlines. Now, for some quick context here, Trump has a long history of being critical of NATO. Trump has argued that the United States is being treated unfairly by other members because they don't spend as much on their militaries as the United States does. NATO members are required to spend at least 2% of their GDP on their own national defense, and Trump has claimed that many members are not meeting that goal. Trump has also called NATO obsolete in the past, though he has backtracked on those comments. And there have also been multiple reports that Trump has threatened to pull the United States out of NATO altogether. Right? And so going into this summit, a lot of people really didn't know what to expect from Trump, which, on that note, the summit is still ongoing as we're recording, and there's also a second day of meetings tomorrow. But still, we have some highlights so far. Right, Trump's first meeting was a press conference with the Secretary General of NATO earlier today. Now, Trump talked about a lot of things at this meeting, which lasted over 50 minutes, but we're mainly going to be focusing on the things that he said relating to NATO and NATO members. Right, so because this was in London, there was some talk about the upcoming British election, and when asked why he was staying out of the election, he said,
I don't want to complicate it. I can, look, I've won a lot of elections for a lot of people. If you look just over the last few months, 2 elections in North Carolina I won. I helped the governor of Kentucky. So I'll stay out of the election. You know that I was a fan of Brexit. I called it the day before. I think Boris is very capable, and I think he'll do a good job.
And so that was a standout for 2 reasons. One, you had people saying Trump was repeating a lie, saying that he predicted Brexit the day before. In the past, he said, the day before Brexit, I was in Scotland. I was like, it's gonna happen. But he wasn't actually in Scotland until the day after the Brexit vote. I also kind of think that's splitting hairs, right? In March of 2016, he did say,
I think that Britain will separate from the EU.
But then, also more notably, 2, you had people saying, you said you were gonna just stay out of the election, but then you just, 1, said you were a fan of Brexit, and 2, complimented Boris Johnson. But really, some of the biggest moments from this conference thus far concerned France, and specifically French President Macron. One of the things that experts and leaders were anticipating for this summit were tensions and possibly even transparent conflict between Trump and Macron. This especially after the US just yesterday threatened to put new tariffs on $2.4 billion in French products, this including wine, cheese, and yogurt, with Trump's chief trade negotiator saying that the tariffs would be responding to a French digital service tax that the United States believes discriminates against American internet companies. So at the press conference, Trump was asked about Macron. One reporter specifically asking Trump about a comment that the French president had made in an interview last month. In that interview, Macron said that NATO is experiencing brain death. This because America's commitment to the organization has been called into question under Trump. And when asked how he felt about that criticism, Trump responded,
I know, and then Turkey responded by saying that he was brain dead, which is interesting. Now, NATO serves a great purpose. It got to be unfair for the United States because the United States was paying a disproportionate amount. And I heard that President Macron said NATO is brain dead. I think that's very insulting to a lot of different forces. It's a tough statement, though, when you make a statement like that. That is a very, very nasty statement to essentially 28, including them, 28 countries. I think that, you have a very high unemployment rate in France. France is not doing well economically at all. They're starting to tax other people's products, so therefore, we go and tax them. It's just taking place right now on technology, and we're doing their wines and everything else. They've had a very rough year. And you just can't go around making statements like that about NATO. It's very disrespectful.
Right, and so all of that was, really notable. You had a lot of people saying, yes, he was going after Macron, but Trump was really defending NATO in a way we really hadn't seen before. And so then after that press conference, Trump heads directly for a meeting with Macron. And there, after saying that the United States was going to tax France in the first press conference, we saw him open by saying,
we do a lot of trade with France. We have a minor dispute. I think we'll probably be able to work it out. But we have a big trade relationship, and I'm sure that within a short period of time, things will be looking very rosy.
Trump also went on to say that some NATO members were not paying enough in defense spending, but he also added that the organization had gotten a lot more flexible since he assumed office. Now, as far as Macron, for his part, he defended his earlier statements about NATO being brain dead and said he stood by it. But then things began to get heated when they started talking about ISIS and the situation with Syria and Turkey. Now, we talked about this a lot on the show a while back, but for some quick background here, Trump and his administration has frequently claimed that ISIS has been defeated in Syria, which was a big part of the justification for Trump Trump's decision to remove troops from northern Syria and to step aside to let Turkey launch a military operation to clear Syrian Kurdish groups at the border. Like we talked about on the show a number of times, Turkey considers those troops to be terrorists, but the US and many other NATO members consider them key allies who have fought alongside the United States to combat ISIS in the region. And this was another topic that was expected to come up at the summit, especially because Turkey is a member. And the whole situation around Turkey there is odd. The Turkish President Erdogan is already in hot water with NATO over the Turkish incursion in Syria, as well as the fact that Turkey recently purchased an anti-aircraft missile system from Russia, which goes against NATO commitments not to buy Russian systems. This largely because Russia is not part of NATO and frequently tries to undermine the alliance. But even with the tension between NATO and Turkey, we saw Turkish President Erdogan already ask NATO members at this summit to recognize the Syrian Kurdish fighters as a terrorist group. And he's also threatened to oppose NATO's plans to update the defense of member states like Poland and other Baltic countries if the organization does not agree to his demands. But the members there have largely refused. We also saw the Turkey question appear to be a point of conflict between Trump and Macron. Trump claimed that most of the captured ISIS fighters in Syria were from Europe.
They're mostly from Europe, and some of the countries are agreeing. I have not spoken to the president about that. Would you like some nice ISIS fighters?
Look,
I can give them
if
to
you look at the situation,
you can take every one you want.
let's be serious. The very large number of fighters you have on the ground are ISIS fighters coming from Syria, from Iraq, and the region. It is true that you have foreign fighters coming from Europe, but this is a tiny minority of the overall problem we have in the region. And I think number one priority, because it's not yet finished, is to get rid of ISIS and these terrorist groups. This is our number one priority. And it's not yet done. I'm sorry to say that. Yes, you still have fighters in this region.
He also condemned Turkey for fighting against the Kurds and said the situation today has led to more ISIS fighters in the region, which then resulted in this interaction.
This is why he's a great politician, because that was one of the greatest non-answers I've ever heard.
To say this is a European responsibility, I'm sorry to say that. We have some of our people, but if you don't look at the reality of the situation, that is number one, not to be ambiguous with these groups. This is why we started to discuss about our relations with Turkey. But I think any ambiguity with Turkey vis-à-vis these groups is detrimental to everybody for the situation on the ground.
We also saw Trump say that he has a very strong relationship with Erdogan, which is going to be interesting to see how that's going to play out later in this summit. But ultimately, that's what we have for now. It is going to be interesting to see what else happens, what else is said. With this story, I would, of course, love to know your thoughts on it. And that is where we're going to end today's show. And hey, if you like this video, let us know. Hit that like button. Also, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe. Definitely tap that bell to turn on notifications so you don't miss these weekday videos. Also, if you're not 100% filled in, you can check out the latest podcast I did with MKBHD, or maybe you just missed yesterday's show, you want to catch up, you can click or tap right there to watch either of those right now. But with that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow, as long as I have a voice tomorrow.